emergency alert pierced through every communication channel in the Galactic Council's vast network. The message was simple, yet its implications sent waves of panic through the thousand-speary-strong alliance. Earth had gone silent. In the Great Council chamber on Centauri Prime, Ambassador Kazoth of the Viridian Confederation felt their scales ripple with unease. Note, as the chamber's quantum displays confirmed the total communication blackout from humanity's homeworld, memories of first contact flooded back. 15 cycles ago, when humans first burst onto the galactic stage, Kazoth had dismissed them as too loud, too aggressive, too present. Now that assessment felt like ancient history, belonging to a more naive time. The chamber, normally alive with the harmonic resonance of 1,000 different species conducting diplomatic business, had fallen into an eerie quiet. The empty Earth seat, positioned prominently in the inner circle reserved for developing spacefaring civilizations, seemed to draw every eye like a gravitational singularity. High Counselors Andar rose from their crystalline throne, their form refracting the chamber's lights in patterns that reflected their internal distress. The ancient being's voice carried the weight of centuries of diplomatic experience, yet even they couldn't fully mask their concern. "We have confirmed that all Earth colonies remain active and in communication," Xandar began, their crystalline structure pulsing with each word. "The silence originates solely from their homeworld. Our monitoring stations detect no signs of planetary destruction, no radiation signatures suggesting warfare, no temporal anomalies. Earth has simply ceased all communications." "God," Elvis said. "Y'all know how much time I'm here." The Arcturian delegate, Ambassador Xyle, their pure energy form contained within an ornate environmental suit of ancient design, pulsed with a frequency that the chamber's translators interpreted as deep concern. "Have we considered that this might be intentional? Earth has always been fed unconventional in their approaches." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Earth's unconventional methods were legendary among the Council races. The memories of their past actions played through the collective consciousness of the assembled diplomats. There was the infamous Krinthok trade crisis, where the Krinthok Consortium had attempted to impose restrictive trade regulations on human colonies. Instead of engaging in traditional diplomatic negotiations, Earth had responded by flooding the market with superior products at fraction of the cost, nearly collapsing the entire Krinthok economic system. The Krinthok representative, present in the chamber now, shifted uncomfortably in their gravity-enhanced seat at the memory. Then there was the Zhoti military standoff, where the traditionally aggressive Zhoti Empire had threatened military action over a disputed border region. Earth's response had become a case study in diplomatic academies across the galaxy. Instead of responding with counter-threats or defensive posturing, they had invited the entire Zhoti High Command to participate in what they called a friendly war game. The demonstration of tactical brilliance that followed had so thoroughly impressed the Zhoti that they not only withdrew their threats but formally requested military training exchanges with Earth. "We should send an investigation fleet," suggested the Meridian representative, their telepathic voice carrying undertones of anxiety that even the best translation algorithms couldn't fully filter out. "If Earth is in danger, the last probe we sent," interrupted Kazoth, their scales shifting to a deeper shade of green, disappeared exactly 13 light minutes from Earth's orbit. No debris, no distress signal, just ... gone. The chamber erupted in worried whispers. The disappearance of a council probe was unprecedented. These devices represented the pinnacle of galactic engineering, incorporating the best technologies from hundreds of species. They didn't simply vanish. "There's more," Kazoth continued, their inner eyelids flickering rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in their species. "Before we lost contact with the probe, it transmitted one final image. Our analysts have been studying it and..." They paused, struggling to find words to describe what had been discovered. The chamber's central hologram sprang to life, displaying a three-dimensional image of Earth. At first glance, everything appeared normal. the blue-white marble of humanity's homeworld, wrapped in its familiar web of orbital stations and defense platforms. But as the image enhanced and filtered through different spectral analyses, something impossible became visible. Around the planet, detected only by the probe's most sensitive instruments, was a barrier. Not a physical wall, not an energy shield of any known type. It was as if space itself had been altered. The mathematics needed to create such a phenomenon were beyond anything the Council races had achieved in their combined millennia of scientific advancement. The Arcturian delegates' energy form fluctuated wildly as they processed the implications. "The humans have done the impossible," they whispered, their words translated in 1,000 languages simultaneously. "They've created a closed time-like curve around their entire planet. They've wrapped Earth in a bubble of manipulated space-time." The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. Species that had mastered faster-than-light travel, developed planet-sized computers, and unlocked the secrets of biological immortality found themselves confronting something that shouldn't have been possible. Serenica slid from the wall, turned already distorted by slow microgravity to realign herself with the light laser. Resurrection had lowered the blood pressure of faster-than-light communications that had mastered-than-light pressures to keep them compatible. The Quantum Mathematics Guild, represented by the hive-mind consciousness of the Yetiri, immediately began running calculations. Their conclusion, delivered minutes later, only deepened the mystery. The energy requirements for such a manipulation would exceed the total output of a medium-sized star. The computational complexity would require processing power beyond our current theoretical limits. For 3 standard days, the Council remained in emergency session. Theories were proposed and dismissed. Some suggested that humanity had discovered some fundamental aspect of reality that the other races had missed. Others worried that they had made a catastrophic mistake that would tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. The answer, when it finally came, was characteristically human. The barrier disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. Earth's communications resumed across all channels simultaneously, but something was different. The quantum channels were operating on principles that shouldn't have been possible. The data streams contained information that defied the known laws of physics. The first message was typically human in its understated simplicity. "Sorry for the silence, everyone. We needed some time to think." The second message caused every artificial intelligence in the council chamber to temporarily shut down from logical overflow. "We've had a breakthrough. We've solved it. All of it. We know how the universe works now. Really works. And we'd like to share." What followed was a data burst that contained, among other things, the complete solution to unified field theory, the mathematics of consciousness transfer, the principles of temporal engineering, and in what many species initially assumed must be a translation error, a recipe for something called chocolate chip cookies, which humanity insisted was equally important. As the council races began to process the information, the full story emerged. Earth's silence had been the result of a planet-wide experiment. Every human on Earth, all 12 billion of them, had participated in a synchronized consciousness integration experiment. While their minds were linked through quantum entanglement, their best scientists and philosophers had worked together to unravel the fundamental mysteries of existence. They had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest expectations. The Irkeri hive mind was the first to grasp the magnitude of what humanity had achieved. "They didn't just solve the existing problems," the hive mind announced to the council. "They found better questions to ask. They looked at the universe sideways and discovered it had been waiting for someone to do exactly that." In the years that followed, the galaxy changed in ways that even the most optimistic futurists hadn't predicted. The humans, true to their word, shared everything they had learned. They taught other races how to fold space, how to touch minds across light years, how to see the quantum foam that made up reality itself. They showed them how to bake cookies, But more importantly, they taught the galaxy how to think differently, how to look at a problem and see not just the obvious solutions, but the impossible ones, and then make them possible. The Krinthok learned to see beauty in chaos theory and reformed their entire economic system around principles of dynamic equilibrium. The Jyoti discovered that the best military strategy was making war unnecessary through deep understanding of consciousness and connection. The Meridians found that telepathy was just the beginning of what minds could do together. The Itkiri hive mind expanded its consciousness to include voluntary participants from other species, creating the first truly multi-species shared mind. The Arcturians learned how to stabilize their energy forms in new ways, allowing them to experience physical sensation for the first time in their species' history. And in the council chamber, where once there had been an empty earth seat that drew worried looks, there now stood a simple plaque that had become one of the most philosophical statements in galactic history. The impossible is just something that hasn't been tried by someone crazy enough to believe it might work. The day Earth went silent became known as the Great Pause, the moment when humanity took a collective breath, looked at the universe, and decided to rewrite its rules. The council races would never forget it, not just because of what happened, but because of what it taught them. Sometimes the quietest moments lead to the loudest breakthroughs, and sometimes a species that seems too loud, too aggressive, too present is exactly what a galaxy needs to wake up and realize that the impossible is just the beginning. Remember, that's why Racing the Galaxy was created, and the purpose of the writer's retreat to begin with was find a new level of enthusiasm and presence. In the centuries that followed, many other races attempted their own great pauses, seeking to replicate humanity's breakthrough. None succeeded quite the same way. Because what made Earth silent special wasn't just the technology or the science or even the unified purpose. It was the uniquely human combination of audacious hope and stubborn determination. The ability to look at the fundamental laws of the universe and say, with complete sincerity, these are more like guidelines, really. High Counselor Xandar, in their final address, before transitioning to a higher state of consciousness, using principles learned from humanity, summarized it best. We thought we were teaching humanity how to be part of a galactic civilization. Instead, they taught us how to be part of a universal awakening. The council chambers would never again be the same. The quiet decorum of diplomatic proceedings was frequently interrupted by loud exclamations of "Eureka!" as representatives had their own breakthroughs. The once rigid protocols became flexible, adaptive, alive with possibility. And every now and then, when some new crisis or challenge arose, someone would inevitably suggest, perhaps we should ask Earth what they think. Because if there was one thing the galaxy had learned, it was that when humans went quiet, it wasn't a time for worry. It was a time to pay very, very close attention to what would happen next. 1,000 years later, a young initiate to the Council's diplomatic corps asked Ambassador Kazoth's descendant why the humans had included a cookie recipe along with their universe-changing discoveries. The ambassador's scales shifted to the soft green of amusement as they replied, because they understood something it took the rest of us centuries to grasp, that the grandest revelations about existence are meaningless without the small pleasures that make existence worth experiencing. Now, would you like to try one? The embassy's chef has finally perfected the recipe. The young initiate accepted the cookie, and as the familiar sweet aroma reached their sensory organs, another memory stirred in the ambassador's mind. You know, they said, settling into their ceremonial rest coal, there's another story about Earth that few in the Council know. It happened just 50 cycles after the Great Pause. Dr. Pitchell said, the humans had gone quiet again, but this time, the Council didn't panic. Instead, they watched with anticipation. Earth's colonies remained as active as ever, but for exactly 7 Earth days, the planet's communications fell silent once more. When they resumed, humanity had another gift for the galaxy. They had discovered what they called dimensional folding, not just the ability to bend space, but to access parallel realities. The implications were staggering. Earth revealed that during those 7 days, they had established contact with versions of themselves across multiple dimensions, sharing knowledge and culture across the boundaries of reality itself. The council chambers erupted in chaos. Some species feared this would destabilize the very fabric of existence. Others saw it as the next great frontier of exploration. The debates raged for months until Earth, in their characteristically practical way, settled the matter by inviting representatives from every council race to participate in the first official, multi-dimensional cultural exchange program. I was there, the ambassador continued, their scales rippling with remembered excitement. I met 3 different versions of myself. One was a poet instead of a diplomat. Another had chosen to become a deep space explorer. The third, they paused, their inner eyelids flickering with amusement. The third was actually allergic to sweetened protein compounds like these cookies. The initiate's sensory appendages twitched with curiosity. But wasn't there a risk? Of dimensional collapse or temporal paradox? That's exactly what the council's science directory asked. The humans just smiled. You know how they do that thing with their facial muscles. They smiled and said, of course there's a risk. That's why we tested it on ourselves first. If anything had gone wrong, only Earth would have been affected. The implications of that statement hung in the air between them. Once again, humanity had taken an enormous risk, not out of recklessness, but out of a desire to protect others while pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Since then, the ambassador continued, Earth has gone silent 6 more times. Each silence has lasted longer than the last, and each time they've emerged with something that changes everything we thought we knew. The last time, 3 cycles ago, they taught us how to communicate with stars themselves. With stars? The initiate's outer membrane rippled with disbelief. Indeed, it turns out stars are conscious, not in the way we are, but conscious nonetheless. They think in cycles of millions of years, communicate through gravitational waves and quantum fluctuations. The humans figured out how to speed up the translation process. Now we can have conversations with them, learn from beings that have watched galaxies form. The ambassador's scales shifted to a deep blue of profound contemplation. But, you know what the most remarkable thing is? Even after all these breakthroughs, all these fundamental shifts in our understanding of reality, humans still gather in small groups to share cookies and stories. They still laugh at jokes, cry at beauty, and wonder about what's next. And now? The initiate asked, finishing the last crumb of their cookie. What do you think Earth is planning now? The ambassador's scales rippled with a pattern that the initiate had never seen before, a combination of anticipation, wonder, and something else. Hope, perhaps. Well, they said, gesturing toward the quantum display that dominated one wall of the embassy office. Earth's communications have been getting quieter over the past few days, not silent, but quieter. And if you look at the subspace readings from their sector, they manipulated the display controls with practiced ease, Dr. Bratt. There's something new forming in the quantum fabric around their solar system, something we've never seen before. The initiate leaned forward, all their sensory organs focused on the display. Should we be concerned? The ambassador's scales shifted to the soft green of amusement once again. Concerned? No. Excited? Absolutely. Because whatever humanity is working on now, you can be certain of 3 things. It will be impossible, it will change everything, and somehow, somewhere in their presentation to the council, they'll find a way to include food. As if on cue, a priority message flashed across the quantum display. Earth's communications hadn't gone completely silent this time, but they had sent a brief message to all council races. Working on something big. Might be sporadic on communications for a while. In the meantime, we're sharing our latest creation. We call it ice cream. Instructions attached. Trust us. You're going to want to try this before our next announcement." The ambassador's scales rippled with laughter. "See what I mean? Now, shall we head to the culinary lab? I believe we have some experimenting to do while we wait for humanity's next impossible breakthrough." As they made their way through the embassy's crystalline corridors, a sudden tremor ran through the building's quantum-unk architecture. Every display panel simultaneously lit up with an urgent message from Earth. "To all council races, prepare for something beautiful. Look to your skies in exactly 1 standard hour." The ambassador's scale shifted rapidly through a rainbow of emotions: surprise, excitement, concern, and finally settling on a deep purple of intense anticipation. "Change of plans," they said to the initiate. "We need to get to the observation dome." Word spread quickly through the diplomatic quarter. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the vast dome that crowned the embassy complex, its transparent walls offering an unobstructed view of the cosmos. The initiate found themselves standing between a HFY warrior priest and a shimming Arcturian energy being, all of them waiting with bated breath. Exactly 1 hour later, it began. At first it was subtle, a slight shimmer in the starlight as if reality itself was taking a deep breath. Then, one by one, the stars began to sing. Not metaphorically, they were actually singing. The quantum translations humans had developed to communicate with stars had been transformed into something entirely new. Each star was converting its gravitational waves into harmonics that could be heard and felt by organic beings. The effect was overwhelming. The Meridian representatives, with their heightened telepathic sensitivity, were the first to collapse in joyful overwhelm. The HFY warrior priest, beside the initiate, fell to their knees, their normally stoic demeanor broken by tears of raw emotion. Even the Arcturians, beings of pure energy, were visibly pulsing in rhythm with the celestial symphony. The ambassador's scales had turned a shade of blue so deep it seemed to absorb light. "They did it," they whispered. Light had yielded to themselves, and the rhythms began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The picture of a future life beckoned. As if in response to those words, the earth itself began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. As precious as the consequences of the operation, the prospect was that we found a way to help them share those stories with all of us. But more importantly, we've discovered how to sing back. As if in response to those words, the Earth itself began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The planet's core, its magnetic field, even its biosphere, all were being harmonized into an instrument of unprecedented scale. Humanity had turned their entire world into a cosmic instrument, ready to join the universe's grand symphony. "You see," the ambassador said, their voice thick with emotion, "this is why we can never predict what humans will do next. Any other species would have been content just to communicate with stars. Humans? They heard the music in the mathematics and decided the galaxy needed an orchestra." The initiate watched in awe as more planets began to glow, their own worlds joining Earth's harmony. "But how? How do they keep doing the impossible?" A warm, familiar voice answered from behind them. "Because we never learned to see it as impossible in the first place." They turned to find a human standing there, Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief ambassador to the Council. Her eyes sparkled with the same light that now filled the sky. "When we first achieved spaceflight," she continued, accepting a cookie from the ambassador with a knowing smile, "we were already dreaming of dancing with the stars. When we first learned to bend space, we were imagining how to fold the universe into origami. Every impossible thing we've done was first dreamed up by someone who didn't know it couldn't be done." She gestured at the glowing sky, where the stellar symphony was building to a crescendo. "And the best part? This is just the beginning. Wait until you see what happens when we teach the black holes to harmonize." The initiate's sensory membranes fluttered in shock. "The black holes too?" Sarah's smile widened. Especially the black holes. They've been singing all along, we just had to learn how to listen. And now, she pulled a small device from her pocket, its surface rippling with quantum calculations. We're about to conduct the first cross-dimensional chorus. Care to help us make history again? The device in her hand began to pulse with a soft, iridescent light that seemed to bend around itself, as if the photons were dancing through multiple layers of reality simultaneously. The ambassador's scales shifted to a color the initiate had never seen before, a shade that seemed to exist somewhere between ultraviolet and possibility. "What you're about to witness," Sarah explained, her fingers dancing across the device's quantum interface, "is the synchronization of multiple dimensional frequencies. Think of it like tuning millions of instruments across infinite orchestras, all playing in perfect harmony." The air in the observation dome began to thicken with potential. Those present could feel it in their various forms of consciousness, a building pressure of reality itself, preparing to expand. The stars' symphony, already overwhelming in its beauty, started to shift and change. New voices joined the cosmic chorus, versions of the same stars from parallel dimensions, each with their own unique resonance. The effect was indescribable. Where before there had been a single magnificent harmony, now there were layers upon layers of interweaving melodies, each representing a different possibility, a different path of cosmic evolution. The initiate's sensory membranes vibrated with overwhelming input as they detected quantum echoes from countless alternate realities. They saw, felt, heard a version of their home world where crystalline spires grew naturally from the planet's core, another where their species had evolved as beings of pure sound, yet another where they had achieved consciousness as a gaseous collective. Dr. Chen's device pulsed brighter. "Now," she said, her voice carrying the weight of concentrated wonder, "watch what happens when we bring in the parallel Earths." The human homeworld's glow intensified, but now it was joined by ghostly overlays of itself, thousands of alternate Earths, each singing its own version of humanity's story. There were Earths where technology had taken different paths, where biology had followed other routes, where history had twisted and turned in unimaginable ways. Yet in every version, humanity's essential nature remained, that unique combination of curiosity, determination, and the inexplicable desire to make the impossible not just possible, but musical. "The most beautiful part," Sarah continued, adjusting something on her device that made the harmonies shift and spiral in new patterns, "is that each Earth, each humanity, found their own way to this moment. Some through technology, others through biological evolution, a few through what they call magic, but we know as highly advanced quantum manipulation. Different paths, same destination, the desire to make the universe sing." The ambassador's scales rippled with sudden understanding. "That's why you included the cookie recipe with your first breakthrough. And the ice cream instructions just now. It wasn't just about sharing pleasure. It was about harmony," Sarah finished, nodding. "About finding the universal constants that transcend dimensional boundaries. In every reality we've contacted, humans gather to share food, stories, and dreams. It's a cosmic constant, more reliable than the speed of light, which, by the way, varies more than you'd think across dimensions." The chorus reached a new crescendo as the black holes began to join in. Not just the black holes of this reality, but their counterparts across dimensions. Their song was deep, profound, and somehow both ancient and newborn at the same time. The very fabric of space-time began to resonate with their harmony. "What we're creating here," Sarah said, her eyes reflecting the multi-dimensional light show, "is more than music. It's a bridge. Every dimension that joins the chorus becomes part of a network, a connection that transcends the boundaries between realities. We're not just making the universe sing, we're teaching it to dream in harmony."